to Connections. I'm your host, April Healy, and I'm sitting with Mellisa Crilly. Hi, Mellisa.
Hi, love.
She's first year staff, and this is her first year on first year staff. And I'm so happy to have you on the show. I'm so glad you're here.
It's really nice to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. All right, one question I really would love to ask you is, what do you love most about life right now? Like, what currently is just bubbling up again, or even in the past, something that you absolutely love about your life?
I love people, and I love being like right where I am. Like, I'm just the family and love is really just my overall, like, oh man, I'm so thankful after traveling so much. I'm so thankful to get to be so close to people who love me so well and that I love so much. Like my family is only like a short drive. I mean, like 5 hours, but it's a decent drive, but it's super doable. Yeah. And then you guys, just like having my core people close to me. And I've lived in Atlanta 10 of the last 13 years. And so I have just great people here who love me well. And I think honestly, that's what I've been so thankful for. I mean, I just keep thinking like, this is ridiculous. I get to, my people are so close to me. I can see them, where when you're on the other side of the world or in another country, it's like, do you have time to FaceTime? Like, and it's great, but it's not the same as being like, I'm real touchy-feely. I'm like, hi, rub my back. Let me rub your back.
Like, I love that part about you.
It's my favorite.
Yes, rub my back anytime, friend.
Thank you.
Or vice versa.
All right, deal. I love it. So that's my favorite, just being able to be with family, and be with my people. And it's such a huge blessing to be able to get to be there.
Yeah, and you're so
be
good
present.
at that.
Ah, thanks.
What theme do you feel like the Lord is guiding you through right now in life?
Yeah, so I think for me in this season, it's been a lot of just learning to love my story the most and be like the biggest fan of me.
To love your story?
Yeah,
wow.
To just love every detail of my own story. And, like realizing like there's no place where it's like, oh, you should be ashamed of that. Like, no, you shouldn't actually. Like, I shouldn't be ashamed. I may not have always made the right decisions. I may not have always, like, you might not want to put it on the poster child for this is how you do life. But at the same time, like, it was my life. It is my life. It's how I got here. It's all a part of me, and being able to look at the stuff that's like, oh man, that would be really easy to just dump a ton of shame on. Or you can just say like, actually, those are the decisions I made when I was, in my 20s or a teenager or last week. Or, like, I still am not perfect. And so it's been really helpful because like just realizing like, oh, and believing in yourself, like believing like all these things God's been saying about me. Well, that's true. So if he's telling the truth, then I should probably believe that, and like, what if you actually believe in yourself? And I always think about Bill Johnston's book, like Strengthening Yourself in the Lord. And just friends of mine that have told me like, when you go and do this dream you're dreaming, you're the one who heard from the Lord. You have to believe in yourself the most because not everyone else got a word from the Lord about you and your dreams in your life. So if you don't believe it, like, how's everyone else going to believe in you?
Wow.
Yeah. And
that's
so
a
like,
really good revelation.
Yeah, it's been really helpful. And even just thinking like, just becoming your biggest fan, like you hear it all the time, like look in the mirror and tell yourself like, I'm amazing. Okay, well, and then you do that and you realize like, that was really helpful. I actually believe I'm this great, and it's not like it's not this false humility thing or this prideful thing. It's like, I'm just really agreeing with what the Lord's been telling me, with what the people around me have been telling me, and like learning to love the ugly stuff in my life too. Like, yeah, I'll tell you that. Okay, great. And just, but not having the shame on it anymore. Like, yeah, here I am.
Yeah. Does it ever feel like fearful to tell other people like some of the shame, like things that shame can attach to?
Yeah, because you're like, well, then you could reject me. You're not perfect either. So you might have a non-Jesus reaction to my choices in my life, or that might really bring up some issues in your life, and that might be really hard for you to deal with, because not even like, it's not people are trying to like have a reaction to you. That brings up some hurt in them, and so it's bringing something up. So, you can deal with those triggers, or you can be really upset and offended. And so being able to just like that, but that's scary because you don't know where everyone else in your life is coming from, or if you're speaking to a group of people, you have no clue who's going to misunderstand you, or how they heard what you said, or how you said what you said,
Right.
There's so much, but I mean, just trusting. For me, I've just been like, okay, well, I feel like the Lord's really calling me to say this part of my life. Great. And then you hear other people talking about it, you're like, oh my gosh, that's the first time I ever said that. Like, that's really personal. But I did say it, and it is my life, and it's the truth. So if you're sticking with the truth, whether it's factual or the actual truth is real great, but like just the facts of my life is, it's what happened. So there's nothing to be ashamed about it. It is what it is.
Yeah, especially if you've like walked through it and you see it through the eyes of the Lord. Yeah.
And it makes it so much more beautiful. You're like, oh, well, that may have not been the easiest route to take, but like, look where I've gotten. And like, now look who I can touch. Like some of the things, like the people I've been able to relate to because of some of the decisions I made in my teenage years, like it's so helpful. I'm like, oh, I totally understand what you're saying. I know you don't think I do, but let's have a connection story of some ridiculousness. And then, okay, great. Like, so see how I do actually have a valid voice into your life now. And like, let me tell you what the Lord's done in my life, and just, the way that Jesus is able to connect you to people through and just make any terrible time or mistake, like absolutely beautiful is really nice of him, honestly. Thanks, Jesus.
That's very nice of you.
You're very kind.
So when you are walking through life and thinking you have like a negative thought about something in your past, practically, what are some ways that you've like talked yourself into seeing through the eyes of Jesus in that area?
Yeah. So one thing that's really helpful is just the whole thought of like, if God's not saying it about me, then or like if like that's not something God would say, then it's not true.
Yeah.
So just like, wow, would the Lord say that I look horrible today? Probably not. Like, like, no. That's really good. And not even probably, like, he definitely wouldn't. He thinks that I'm beautiful. Yeah. And so okay, so let me just declare that, and just, and the more that I've read truth, the more that I listen, and I've just being careful of like what I'm actually letting influence my thoughts has been really helpful. Yeah. But then practically just like, okay, does this line up? And I don't always do that perfectly, but even just having my friends around like, oh, hi. So what you just said doesn't actually sound like you.
That's really good.
And just having, yes, that's real helpful. But just, practically thinking like, okay, or just recognizing like, wow, that's a really giant lie. Or like, oh, I feel so much fear and anxiety right now. So, okay, cool. Like fear and anxiety, you get to leave.
Okay.
And so Holy Spirit invites you in, and it doesn't, like so many times it actually, you just are all of a sudden like, okay, great. And otherwise just like, well, I choose to like, just declare the truth and just keep doing things scared is super helpful,
Meaning pushing past your fear.
Right. Like, just like, okay, well, here's the truth. And I'm just going to keep walking through it. I'm going to keep, okay, like maybe all those facts do say this, but this is what the Lord's been telling me for years. And so I'm just going to move with this, I'm just going to believe what the Lord's been telling me for years about my finances, about my life, about my future. And today may not look like that, but I'm just going to choose to show up to my life and choose to show up joyful, because I'm going to be one of the most joyful people in the world, and
you are, friend. You are one
Thanks,
of the
that's
most.
actually one of my words.
Like, and you are.
Thank you. I love it. It's a lot more fun.
Too. So I know that you're like, have all these dreams. Like you love people, you love missionaries, you love kids, you love government, you love all these different things. Yeah. And so when did you discover that you loved all those? And when and how did you navigate putting those in place, like actually having a place for those things?
Yeah, I would say some of that I'm working on right now. Like, for sure, I've always worked with kids. I've actually always had a heart for like government and politics. Really, it's all about, I want to change the whole world, And like, I know. I'm just, let's change the world.
Let's have impact.
Exactly. And so and I think it all goes together, like, and I think it all just comes out of being like just loving love and loving people. And so a lot of that I am currently trying to figure out like, okay, now, because you're always finding how like the pieces of the things that your heart loves, the pieces of like who you are, how that fits into your world now, right? Like where you're at, how can I love children in this moment, even though I'm not doing anything that like directly looks like it impacts them, but I am, Yeah. So how does that channel in, and or how does like, what is loving on missionaries right now? I'm not a missionary anymore. Like, what does that look like? You know, and just finding ways to make it keeping those dreams alive, and just see what Holy Spirit's talking about, and
so like practically you might like you might babysit for somebody if you or
Or like I take some of my friends' kids out on dates. Like I miss my nieces and nephews. They're like the closest ones, like 6 hours away.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'll take my friends' kids out on like coffee dates and whatever, you know, just like, hey, let me connect. Cause I mean, meeting with a child, they are brilliant and they will enlighten your life. You know, you're just like, oh, that's so simple and true. And sounds like Jesus. Thanks.
That's awesome.
Thanks, friend. You know, and just giving them the respect of the same, like they're a person.
Okay.
And so anyways, yeah, just finding ways to make it work.
I love that.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for joining us, Mellisa. We love every piece of you. I really do.
You're the best.
Every piece of you. And guys, thank you so much for joining us. And join us again next time. We absolutely love that you're joining us.